Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard. I went from being a lawyer and partner at one of the largest firms in America to becoming an online personality and successful entrepreneur. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your health and personal life. So, how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you chase joy while achieving success? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back to Hustle and Flow. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and we are on episode 235. And today I am sharing with you my number one goal for the year, and that is to get a book deal. It's not to write a book, it is to get a book deal, which I will kind of explain the difference a little bit later. But I wanted to share with you that this was not actually part of the schedule. I had a totally different podcast that I was going to share with you, and I never intended to share with anyone that I was bringing a book into the world until I actually got the book deal. And the reason why was because if I told you, you might ask me how it was going. And I didn't want to have to answer those questions if it wasn't going well. I also knew that if I shared it with the world and it didn't happen, then that would just be a public failure that, maybe I didn't actually want to experience publicly. And then also, if I shared it, I guess it creates a little bit of accountability in the sense that I can't avoid it. I can't procrastinate. I can't self-sabotage like I have a million times before when it comes to this particular dream of mine. And so I had no intentions of sharing this with you. The reason why I am sharing it with you and the reason why I am sharing it now is because one of the mentors that I am working with said, you really need to be sharing about the fact that you are working on a book and you're working on a book deal and letting people in on the journey and letting them help you now. Like, ask for help now. And I was like, I don't know that I'm ready to let people in on that journey. And I'm so strategic when I do ask for help that I was like, I've got to save up my asks for much later when it really, really matters. And I think she helped me see that this is a long game. So you can ask multiple things along the way. But two, those bigger asks will never come if I'm not willing to ask for what I need help with right now. And the funny thing is, I'm not actually afraid to ask for help in a lot of ways. When I produced the planner, the Life and Law Planner, I didn't know anything about actually manufacturing anything. And I asked when people would say, how can I help you? Or even on the podcast, I would mention it. I would say, if you know anyone in manufacturing or anyone who does anything with planners, with paper, like that would be a great contact if you could send them my way. And I think the reason why I had no problem sharing that was because I had no attachment to it. It was an interesting, exciting project that I would love to make happen, but I didn't actually have my soul wrapped up in it, if that makes sense. And what I mean by my soul wrapped up in it, I always assumed I would write a book. I always assumed I would be an author. Like growing up, I assumed that would be part of my reality as an adult. And I suspect that a lot of you listening may have also thought, I'm going to write a book one day. I'm going to be an author. And so there's that. I didn't walk around as a child saying, I want to produce a planner. I want to be a manufacturer. I want to be an entrepreneur. But I did say things around wanting to speak and be an author and things like that. And so it's just a little bit closer to my heart. And I've also been talking about it for so long and have not made it happen that there's just a lot of fear around it. Unlike the planner that, again, I had no knowledge, no contacts, and made it happen in pretty short order, I have not been able to do that with a book, despite having talked about it for a really long time. So, depending on how long you've been following me, you know that I had Post-its right in front of my computer, by the window at my old house. And I had two Post-its, two different book ideas that literally, I mean, I swear they've been there, for over a decade. And I would share that with my keynote with Simple Courage. I developed the keynote because I said, I really want to write the book. I really want to write the book. This is what I want to speak about. And because I want to write the book, in my mind, I thought, well, I need the brand, I need the platform, I have to have all of this before I can have the book. But I never really made progress on the book. I bought a book back when I was still a partner in the law firm on how to write a book proposal. And I was playing around with a few book ideas then. And I think that just goes back to I've just always really wanted to write a book. And I played around with it a little bit, but I wasn't super serious and didn't really do the full work to bring it to fruition. It's one of those things where, like, I know how to get things done. I understand strategy and I understand execution, focusing on a goal and taking progress towards it. And for whatever reason, I have repeatedly dropped the ball with the book. And when I say dropped the ball, I mean I have chosen not to actually do the damn thing. And when I really wonder, like, what's that about? I really do think it is some kind of insecurity or fear that I can't actually make it happen. And that might potentially break my heart. And I have to tell you, after the tumor, COVID, Simple Courage, all of that, and I experienced that failure, it truly was heartbreaking. And I don't know that I am still over that fully. I actually thought I was, but when I was going to prepare this podcast episode, I was like, actually, I don't know that I am. It's a reminder of you might not actually be able to achieve what it is that you're wanting to do. And that's just a hard pill to swallow when it's something that you have always wanted. So, why now? Why now? Interesting that you ask. So, I lead retreats at Miraval. I think you all know that. I've been leading them there since 2016. And one of the things that I have started doing there is working with a practitioner. She is a medium, she is the clairvoyant, and she shares messages with each person in the group. And because I'm there, I also get a message shared with me. And when I was there in February of 2024 and September of 2024, both times there were very clear messages around the book, writing the book, and then the two books. And I was like, and I literally said in February, and the group that was there with me, they will know what I said. I don't want to write the book. I mean, that was my response. And it was a visceral response. It was very strong. It was, I don't want to write the book. Like, go back and tell whoever is sending you this message, I don't want to write the book. Don't want to do it. And that's so interesting because I've actually worked through this for over an entire year because that was in February of 2024. And as I continue to share this, it really wasn't until maybe December that I fully owned it. So this has been going on for a while. But I didn't really see what it was. And I was like, what am I avoiding? Why do I now not want to write the book? And I think it was because of that experience with losing so much of the business and not being able to bring Simple Courage to fruition, that it's just like, I don't want to do it again. Like, I don't want to try. I don't want to, like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to write it. I don't know that I can, is what I really want to say. Like, I don't know that I can do it. And so I pushed back against it and said, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. throwing a 3-year-old tantrum. And then it came up again in September. And I went and actually saw, because y'all know I'm into all the things. So I went and actually saw another clairvoyant. And the message that she was providing as well was again about the book. And it was everything that you've ever wanted is coming through the book. In other words, you're saying that you want to be able to travel and to speak and be a performer and have this large platform. And this is the route that will get you there. And I am like, I want to pick the path. I want to pick the route. I don't want to be told the way in which it has to happen. And so I totally resisted it and I totally pushed back. Okay. That said, at some point, Lovey Ajayi Jones, who is, I don't know, is it 4 times now, like New York Times bestseller? She is an amazing author. She started a beta program called the Book Academy. Oh my goodness, when was the first cohort? It was either, I feel like fall of 2023. Yeah. Like it was before they told me about the book deal, I think. I would have to go back and actually line up the dates to see how it happened. I never really thought about this. This is curious. So it's like I'm saying I don't want it, but maybe subconsciously and deep down in my heart and soul, I did still want it. And she was offering a class on how to write your book, publish your book, get it out in the world, market the book, all the things. And she was offering it from a beta perspective for something like $497. I love a deal. I love a bargain. And I know like a lot of you like a good deal and a good bargain on like shoes and bags and clothes. I like a good deal and a good bargain on business. And so when someone amazing tells me they have something for a really good price, I just buy it. I just buy it. I do because I'm like, even if I don't need it in this moment, I know that I will eventually need or want it potentially and will never be able to get it at that price again. And it is currently, I think, $3,000 or more. So again, I was an early adopter. I didn't actually think I was going to use the course at that time, and I didn't. I mean, I totally like I didn't do anything with it. I didn't participate in the Zoom calls. I didn't do anything with it. I truly did not. But I thought one day I may do something with this, and this is like too good of a deal to pass up. She did a second cohort, and then she kept going, and I then watched some of the videos, but none of it was. I'm like, but what am I even writing about? I'm like, I don't want to write about simple courage. I'm like, what's the book about? And so it's like, I was watching, I was consuming, I was getting information, but also didn't really know where to begin because I didn't know what the book was going to be about. So this was just kind of like happening in the background. Like it was just existing. So, like I said, got this message in both February and September of 2024. So, as soon as I get back from Miraval in September of 2024, my husband said he was going out of town climbing. And I was like, oh, well, Susan Hyatt is having her Finish Strong event in Chicago. If you're not going to be here, I'm going. It was like I might have cheated actually. It might have been like the day after you were supposed to sign up, but I was like, is the link still working? And I was able to get in. And I bought a ticket and I booked a flight and I booked a hotel and with like 1 or 2 days notice. Like I just did it because why not? I was like, let me go get in some good energy. And she was having a 5-year future self opening session ceremony. And I've actually hosted those in my masterminds before. And so I was like, oh, this is great. This is a lot of fun. And as I was packing, I didn't have much time. I just had this thought of, I should take books because I already was dressing up and I had pre-ordered, like I literally had ordered that day from Walgreens, like because it was again 24, 48 hours beforehand of autographs because I'm doing the stand-up comedy. I love performing. I love being on stage. And I was like, ooh, let's wear some fun clothes. We can have these like headshots that I can autograph for people. But as I was leaving, I was like, I should take the books. I should take the books, but I didn't want to take Simple Courage. So I had the two post-it notes in my office with the two book ideas since like 2015, 2016. And I had told you all about Simple Courage. But even when I hosted like a 5-year thing in 2020, I brought both books, but I didn't share the cover of the one. I just shared Simple Courage. And then so I was like, okay, I'll take this other book and then I'll just create another one because who even knows what I'm writing about? And so I took them up to Chicago and shared, I'm going to be an author. And if you want an autograph, I'll give it to you. But again, it was more like, was I taking it seriously? I mean, I put it out in the universe, but I wasn't doing anything, right? So then Susan Hyatt's always got me doing wild things. She ended up coming to Nashville to host a Festivus Fuck This holiday party at the Hermitage Hotel. I'm just there having a good time, having my tea, having my cakes, drinking my champagne, and also the best hot chocolate in the world. It was so good. Anyway, she had everyone share, like we had to go around the table and claim like what are we claiming for 2025, and I was like, oh, I didn't know we were going to do some work. I was just came for a party. And I stood up, and it was not me. Like I don't know who started speaking, like using my body and voice, but I'm like, it wasn't me. It was probably like my higher self, but it was not the like critical egotistical grounded Heather. I stood up and said, I'm claiming in 2025 that I'm getting a book deal. And then I sit down and I was like, huh, okay. And then Susan was like, what's the book about? And I kind of had an answer. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. That was the first time I had ever said in all the years that I have been talking about getting a book or envisioning a book, I am getting a book deal. Because what I had always envisioned and what I had always said was, I am writing a book. And this was a game changer for me. Like, whoever embodied me and used those words, thank God, because it gave me the information that I needed, which was I don't have to worry about writing the book. The goal should not be writing the book. The goal should be a book deal. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but for me, that was what I needed to hear. 1 week later, maybe 2 weeks later, this is where things just kind of happen. We start to pay attention to signs and what's going on around us. Lovey Ajayi Jones, who I had bought that first program with, but never really did anything with, said, we are moving to an accelerator program. And if you want to buy the entire year, you get access to all of the former master classes because she had continued with like a membership where she brings people in. And she said, you can get a whole year to come in and you'll get the updated videos, everything. Again, it was like for $1,000. So I've gotten all of this for 1,500, which is still cheaper than what, it's like half of what people are paying now. And it's probably going to continue to go up because let me tell you, as someone who prices things myself and has paid a lot of money for a lot of things, this is way underpriced, even at 3,000. So I guarantee you the price is going to go up, but I keep getting grandfathered in because I got I got my deal. When she said I'm doing this beta program, I was like, no problem. Here's my money. So I'm in that. So I started watching the videos again, but I was still struggling a little bit with like, what are we writing this book about? Even though I thought, well, maybe it is the other thing that I've always had. And I'm not fully sharing it yet because I'm not fully in development. I will continue to share this journey. And so when it's we're 100% dialed in on the developmental phase on that, I will share it with you. But I thought maybe that's the book. I don't know. But again, I had actually set that as my goal for the year to get the book deal. That's the number one goal. And I have been taking action towards it every single day and week in 2025. So things are right now coming to me that I can see. They were probably there before. I wasn't paying attention. So another one was through Hay House. And I was familiar with Hay House because Gabby Bernstein and Chris Carr and Danielle Laporte, like a lot of the people that I knew from early in my online business days, they all published through Hay House. And they have a program as well. And one of the options is like just how to be a writer. I was like, that's what I need. Like, what are we even writing about? And let me just tell y'all, they drip that out like way too slow for me. And by the time I was like 2 or 3 weeks in and just kept doing the same like assignment over and over and over again. And I kept wanting to write about the same subject when there was no pressure, when it was like, there's not a point to this other than we're just writing. It was always about the same thing. I was like, oh, I know what I'm writing about. And from there, it just flowed. So that was a great investment as well. And then I found an agency course on query letters and things like that. Now, let me tell you, Lovey's program is amazing and really covers it all, but I did find it helpful. So I have 3 different programs that I'm doing. I'm doing one with a New York Times bestselling author. I'm doing one with a publishing house, and I'm doing one with a literary agent. So I'm getting 3 very different perspectives on the same thing. And where I'm always really strategic, I actually found like that's helpful for me to craft my own strategy and to really understand from the different perspectives because all 3 of those are required and involved in getting a book deal. So I'm now making, quite a bit of progress. The other thing that really helped me, so for those of you out there who have dreams and like you also have been procrastinating or whatever else, when I started focusing on the end, it helped me reverse engineer. So I kept starting with the what are we writing the book about? And what's the table of contents? And what's a chapter? And what are we writing? And that was actually not helpful for me to begin with. Just the way my brain works, it helped me to be like, okay, but how are we marketing the book? And how will it be launched? And what's the timeline? And what's the process? And who's involved? Like just knowing the whole big picture actually then helped me reverse engineer back into the book proposal. And the beautiful thing about the book proposal is the book's not written. It's not written yet. So you're getting the agent to help you develop it. You can hire editors to help you develop it. And you then get the publishing company who's also going to help develop and edit it. So it may change anyway. But you know what a book proposal has to have? It's got to have things like how are you going to market the book? So it was such a game changer for me to not think about it in terms of how am I going to write the book? What is this book about? But in terms of the bigger picture and how it's all packaged and focusing on just the book proposal. I have actually, again, with some of the books I've read and some of the other courses I've done over the years on like, how do I write a book? It was all about the writing. And that's actually, I think, what was it was getting me tripped up. Like, it's now easier for me to write. And that was just for me, the process, what I needed. Also, I've gotten a lot of clarity because what I realized, and one of the things I've been resisting, especially with the books I've read and the people I know who teach this, it actually happened with Simple Courage, even when I was working on my keynote. When you are a business owner, when you are an entrepreneur, when you're a thought leader, I was told, and I've been told over and over and over again, you have to have a framework. So it's basically what they call prescriptive nonfiction. I did not know this at the time, but it's really a how to. And so even with a keynote, it was like, unless you're a celebrity, it can't just be inspirational. You actually have to have a framework. You have to have teachings. You have to have like takeaways. Like, and you can't just let the audience or the reader figure it out for themselves. Like, you have to feed it to them. I love a good self help book. I love a how to book. I love a business book. My heart and soul does not want to write that. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that. Um, I really want to write a memoir. Will there be insight? Will it be helpful? Will it give people tools and help them transform? Yes, but I don't want to write it from the perspective of here are the 7 steps. Here's the framework. Here's how I can help you. Can I write that book? Yes. If that is what I have to do to get the book deal while I do it, probably yes. But I really want to see if I can get the book deal on the memoir. That is really what my heart and soul wants. And so I want to at least give it the opportunity to explore. So here's what I've learned with the book deal process. So if you want a traditional book deal, you need an agent. And let's back up. Why do I want a book deal? Why do I want traditional publishing? Why do I want an agent? Because there are so many amazing options out there. There is hybrid publishing, there is self publishing. I have friends, colleagues, clients who have all gone that path, and there is nothing wrong with it. Given what my vision has always been and what I want, though, traditional makes the most sense because I truly want to be an author. And I'm not saying they're not authors, but they wrote books in order to either have a book written, right? To say they wrote the book, to actually help their business, to support their business, or maybe for ego. I think mine used to actually be related to ego as well. It costs money to do all of that, though. And I have self funded a million things. So many things have I self funded. I'm totally into that if it's going to help the business and be an investment in the business. But I don't want this to be a business book. I don't want this to be a how to book. I want this to be a memoir, which could attract people to my business, but it's much bigger than the business, which is why I really want the traditional publishing route because it's going to open the doors and give me what I'm looking for personally over the other route. And will I change my mind one day if I cannot get traditional publishing? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But because I have that goal and I want to pursue it, I'm going to try it first. So, the biggest hole, the biggest gap in my book proposal is my platform. Currently, the landscape for landing an agent is they'll immediately look at like your social media following and other things. And if you don't have a certain amount, word on the street is multiple people, lots of people who are in the industry say like they won't even pay attention. And so that is my biggest hurdle. It doesn't mean it can't happen. Happens all the time. I can give you examples, but it's harder to get them to even read your email or to want to read the proposal in the first place. So that is also one of the ways that you can help me right now. And it's where I need to make the ask. So I actually created a PDF. I'm going to go through these things right now, but I created a PDF so that you can go right to it and it's got clickable links. 8 things that you can do right now if you would like to support me in trying to get the book deal. Because here's what the timeline looks like. Here's what the process looks like. So once you've got the book proposal written, then you can go out and start pitching to agents. But the book proposal has to be done at that point. Once you land an agent, then they work with you, further develop that book proposal, and then that goes and they pitch to the traditional publishers to try to get you the deal. I have to have that book proposal with my platform and my audience before I can really go to the agents. And so it's not going to keep me from going forward, but the more I can get those numbers up while I'm still finishing the proposal so that when I actually get it out, it's going to increase my chances of getting agents to even have a conversation or even consider me. So, here are the 8 things. By the way, for the PDF, it'll be in the show notes, but you can also go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/book deal. heatherjoyhubbard.com/book deal. It's basically 3 prongs. One is email newsletter. The second is social media. And the third is the podcast. On my email newsletter list, the more people I have, the better it looks. So if you are not currently subscribed to my newsletter, that would be a super helpful thing for you to do. And again, that there's a link in that PDF where you can just click it and it will bring up the form and put your name and email in. You can also share it with others that you know maybe used to follow me, used to listen, and maybe they don't know that I'm back, or now that I am back, maybe they're not following me. But if you share with them, she's trying to get a book deal, it would really help out if you would resubscribe to her newsletter. That would really, really be helpful. So that is the first one. The second is social media. And my main accounts, so that's what I would focus on trying to build more, is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you just want to follow me on one, I will be super grateful. If you follow me on all 4, I will be eternally grateful. So it really does help, like, because I can aggregate, and the more that I have in each, it's going to be really, really helpful. But just follow me. That's all you gotta do. Click follow. If you see my posts and want to engage, that'd be great, because as agents see, they want to know that not only people follow you, but they engage with your content. Let's see, at least on Instagram, you can even click the little star where you see all my posts. So that would be helpful. And then the last piece is the podcast. So if you occasionally listen to the podcast, but you're not subscribed, you're not following, that would be a huge help, because what it does is it's an automatic download. They can't actually report stats on how many people have listened. They can only report stats on how many people have downloaded. So if you subscribe, it's automatically downloaded. So whether you listen to it or not, although I do hope you listen to it, that stat then counts as a download for the episode. So, and even if you listen on one, if you're more than happy to, subscribe to several platforms, you can do that too. But Apple is the most important. Spotify is the second most important, but Apple is the most important. If you are not following, it used to be called subscribe. Now they call it follow. If you're not following Hustle and Flow on Apple, it would be a huge help if you would do that. The second thing that you can do with the podcast, this again goes back to Apple, is rate the podcast. So when you are in the podcast app for Apple, it's got the 5 stars, and you simply click on what you're wanting. Hopefully it's a 5-star, but it can be an honest rating. You just rate, and that like automatically gives it a rating. The third thing that you can do, which would be so helpful, is to leave a review. And maybe you've never done that before, but there is a way for you to review the podcast. And when you review the podcast, you put in a name, and it can be, it doesn't have to be your actual name if you don't want someone to see it. Like, you can create a name, and then you write the actual review of the podcast. The last review that I have for Hustle and Flow is 4 years old. It's 4 years old. So I really could use some fresh reviews on Hustle and Flow. That would be a huge, huge help if you would do that. They want to see that people are listening and engaging and following. And like I said, if you do any one of those things, it would be really helpful. If you do all 8, I will love you forever. I will see what you're doing. I will pay attention. And I don't know what I'll do, but maybe something. Maybe something of value. I will say, now that I've shared this and I'm going to take you on the journey, I will share updates on what's going on when I have the proposal ready, when I'm actually pitching it to agents, when I'm like, knock on wood, I don't have wood around me, when I get the agent, and then what it looks like to then pitch to the publishing houses and hopefully actually get a deal, the whole process, and then going through the pre-launch and the launch. So anyway, if you're willing to help me out, I would absolutely love it. If you end up having any questions about this journey, feel free to actually, because you might have missed last week's episode, we're doing Ask Me Anything. We're continuing those episodes. So maybe I'll do an Ask Me Anything episode that just answers questions related to the book or the book process. So if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, you can go to heatherjoyhubbard.com/ask me anything and fill out that survey. Well, it's really just 2 questions. It's what's your name, and it can be a fake name, and what's your question. But the big ask for today is for you to help me with my numbers so that I can actually maybe get some agents to pay attention to my book proposal. And that PDF, where you can get the clickable links and just run through it, probably all of it in less than 5 minutes, is heatherjoyhubbard.com/book deal. All right. So there you have it. That's my big goal for 2025. Wish me luck, and I will keep you updated. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, give the episode a like and leave a comment below so we can keep the conversation going. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a future episode or announcement. Listening on Apple, Spotify, or another podcast app, you can watch the video and join in the after show conversation by visiting hustleandflowpodcast.com.